The level of organization is the same whether you are an animal or a human, and it's pretty easy. The first level is the chemical level. The chemistry starts with atoms, which are the smallest units of matter, and they combine to form molecules such as proteins or such as water. The next level is the cellular level. The cell is the smallest living unit in any living thing. It's the smallest functional and structural unit of all life. And inside the cell will be organelles, or little organs, that have very specific functions. Just like your stomach has a specific function, the organelles each have a specific function. Tissues are groups of cells working together to perform a specific function. So the heart muscles form cardiac muscle tissue. But the next level, the organ, the heart is an organ, but it is composed of a variety of tissues. It is composed of muscle tissue, it is composed of connective tissue, it is composed of epithelial tissue. So an organ is composed of two or more tissues working together to perform a specific function. Organ systems are organs that work together to perform some task. The heart works with blood vessels and blood to form the cardiovascular system. There are 11 organ systems in the body. An organism is the combination of all those organ systems. It's the highest level of organization. All those organ systems need to work together to maintain homeostasis. So, as I've said, cells are the basic structural and functional unit of all life. There are trillions of cells in our body, but there's only about 200 different types of cells. We measure cells in a unit called a micrometer. A micrometer is 1/1,000,000th of a meter. So these different types of cells are quite diverse. They have different sizes, different shapes, and that's all to relate to its function. The function is determined by its structure. So, for example, there are 3 different types of muscle cells, one of them being the smooth muscle cell, and these cells are very long and slender for slow and sustained contractions. Blood cells are flattened discs performing only the task of carrying oxygen in the blood, and they're quite flexible. They can fit through capillaries and squeeze through very small spaces. These are just a variety of cells. What do you think the fat cell's structure has to do with its function? How does its structure relate to its function? Well, clearly a fat cell stores fat. You can see in that cell, all that yellow in the center is stored fat. So the cell is going to be large and round for storage. The cell theory is the foundation of modern biology. Cells are the structural building blocks of all plants and animals. Cells are produced by the division of pre-existing cells. Cells are the smallest structural units that perform all vital functions. All of these cells have to work together to maintain homeostasis. So while each cell is independent in that it can respond to the local environment, they all are coordinated and work together in the human body. Tissues are specialized groups of cells that perform a specific function. There are 4 different tissues in animals: epithelial, connective, muscle, and neural. Epithelial tissues are very common. All of those tissues that line cavities or cover surfaces, those are all epithelial tissues. They form barriers. They line the digestive tract, the respiratory tract. They produce glandular secretions. Connective tissues are very different from epithelial. Epithelial tissues are barriers, so they're very close together. epithelial tissues, there's such a diversity of them, but they all have cells that are really far apart, separated by what's called an extracellular matrix. So in this picture, look for the different cells. You can see a cell by finding its nucleus. And they are surrounded by fibers, protein fibers, as well as a liquid substance called ground substance. Blood is a connective tissue. Bone is a connective tissue. Fat and adipose tissue is connective tissue. Muscle cells have one function, and that is to contract. There are 3 different types. Skeletal muscle are attached to our bones and allow us to move. Cardiac muscles are found in the heart. And smooth muscles line internal organs to allow internal movements. Major functions of muscles: skeletal movement, soft tissue support, maintaining blood flow, movement of materials internally, and regulating our body temperature. Here are the 3 types: skeletal, cardiac, and smooth. Nervous tissue is a lot easier than epithelial or connective. It carries information. There are two different types of cells. The main type that carries the information or transmits the information is called a neuron, and the support cells are called neuroglia or glial cells or just glia. And they have a variety of functions such as supporting, providing nourishment, getting rid of waste. Neural tissue is located in 2 different nervous systems. The CNS, or central nervous system, consists of the brain and spinal cord, and the PNS consists of everything outside the brain and spinal cord. For example, we have 31 pairs of spinal nerves. Organs are composed of more than one tissue type, and their function is determined by, of course, the structure. For example, an organ with a flattened shape could function well in protection, such as our skin. Our skin is our largest organ. Many organs are hollow and can fill up with fluids or solids, such as our stomach, and they're surrounded by muscle tissue that can squeeze to help move the food around in the stomach. So the heart, an organ, is composed of cardiac muscle tissue, epithelial tissue, connective tissue, and neural tissue, all functioning together to help the heart work as a pump. And all of these are our organ systems. There are 11 organ systems. Can you list them? So our organ systems consist of organs that interact to perform a specific range of functions. None of these systems works independently of the other. They depend on each other to maintain homeostasis within the body. We will go through each organ system. The integumentary system is the skin. It protects the body from hazards, and it helps control body temperature. The skeletal system provides support, protects tissues, such as the brain. The brain is protected by the cranium. The heart and lungs are protected by the ribs. It stores minerals. It stores potassium and calcium. Phosphorus and calcium. And the skeletal system is where our blood cells form, inside the bones in the red bone marrow. You can pause at these charts in order to read through them. The muscular system provides movement and support, as well as generating heat. The nervous system is for very rapid control, and so the 2 words that describe the nervous system, the nervous system activities, is control and coordination. The endocrine system secretes chemical messengers. You probably know some of your glands, the pituitary gland, the thymus, the thyroid, the pancreas, the adrenal. These hormones that are secreted are called chemical messengers, and they are for long-term changes. The nervous system directed very quick, rapid, short-term changes. The cardiovascular system is basically a transport system, transporting nutrients, wastes, and gases throughout the body. The lymphatic system has two main functions. One is to fight against infection, and the other is to return excess fluid to the bloodstream. Think about when you sprain an ankle, your ankle swells up. Well, as the ankle heals, where does that fluid go? It actually goes back into the lymphatic system, drains upward, and then is dumped back into the bloodstream. The respiratory system delivers air. So there's an exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide in the lungs, and then the oxygen is transported to the tissues, which is part of the cardiovascular system. The respiratory system is also important in producing sound. The digestive system is responsible for the intake and breakdown of foods, mechanical breakdown and chemical breakdown, which is digestion, as well as for excreting wastes or of foods that have not been processed. The urinary system, it gets rid of metabolic wastes. And the reproductive system produces sex cells, that is sperm and eggs, as well as hormones, and allows for new generations. What body system returns excess fluid to the blood? Lymphatic. It also fights infection. What body system regulates pH and blood ion concentrations? Urinary. What body system digests and absorbs nutrients? Digestive. And there are your 11 body systems. I'd be comfortable with the major functions as well as what organs are in each system and be able to identify those different organs.